Olá, amigos board gamers, bem-vindos a mais uma box special aqui na Curious Box. As box specials nunca sabem o que é que lá vem dentro e é sempre agora às terças-feiras. Estamos cá com as novidades referentes aos board games. Hoje temos um convidado muito especial, vem da Nigéria. Hoje temos uma entrevista, é verdade. Vem da Nigéria e tem um projeto fantástico à volta dos board games, chama-se Kenechukwo. Ogbuago, eu não sei se Ogbuabu, provavelmente não estou a pronunciar o nome bem, mas enfim, e está cá connosco hoje nesta entrevista. Eu vou também fazer uma introdução breve em inglês, espero que vocês fiquem para ver, vai ser espetacular. Hello, board gamers of the world. Welcome to the Curious Box. Here we are back with a box special today with a very, very special guest from Nigeria. We have Kenechukwo Ogbabu. He is a board game designer and also a board games publisher. And he brings us a very, very special story of board games. So check it out. Stay there because he is already here. Hello, Kenechukwo.
Hi, Pedro. Hi. Thank you for having me. It was very good to be here.
Well,
Hi, everyone.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Um, you, w- I saw you everywhere a few months ago talking about board games. You can easily find your name online because you are like the gate to board games in Nigeria now. Um, before we go there, I want to go a little bit across your history, your
Yeah.
past. How did you get interested in board games?
Now that I actually think about it in retrospect over the years, I think the concept of board gaming is not new in Nigeria. It's something that it's normal. If you go to any street, there's a high chance that you see people playing games. But the thing that has always been that it's been limited to the old classic games. So what you're going to see is Scrabble, Monopoly, Ludo, Snake and Ladder, Mancala. We call it an iron. So as a kid, I've been playing games, just like any other child in my neighborhood. So we play games. We even play some other form of games that at the time we didn't really consider them as games in quotes. Some of the games are ones that are able to design in the past 2 3 years. So as a child, I've been playing games, but it didn't really mean anything. It was just normal. And frankly, we didn't know that there was a world of games out there. We just thought that, to be honest, even up to today, a lot of Nigerians I've met still think that Ludo originated from Nigeria because the idea we had was, oh, all of these games are made around us, so there was no big global tabletop community out there. Neither did we even know that there were more games to play out there. But everything changed in 2013. At that time, I was say 20 years old at the time. I can't put it together, but I was design. We were in school, higher institution, university, and we had this union strike where, and it, coincidentally, right now the same union strike is ongoing, where government and university teachers are having a rift, and then they are not teaching anymore. So we had that in 2013, and it lasted for 6 months. Now, we were not told that school won't be in section for 6 months. So we kept hearing that next week school will open, so don't go home. And we'll wait for next week and school doesn't open. And then we wait for another 2 weeks and so on. So we were very, very bored. I remember in the lounge where I used to live, I had this medical friend from Cameroon. So he was so bored. We were all bored, frankly. And that was when I designed the first game. I didn't put anything to it. It was like, okay, we tried a lot of activities to engage ourselves, and I wanted to design at the time a boring long game because he didn't enjoy playing PlayStation. So I wanted to design a tabletop game, a medical student. So I think that was how the whole thing started in 2013. I designed the first game just out of boredom. That's a very simple way of saying it. But up to 2015, we didn't really play it anymore. But in 2015 was when I finally discovered I was in an environment where young people from UK were there. I saw new games, and then they told me that, oh my God, this is an amazing stuff that you just did. Can you do it again? So I think that was where the whole thing just kind of blew out. But the whole concept of gaming has always been in Nigeria, but it's been limited, and frankly, it's the sole purpose of why we exist anyway. That's really what we want to fight in
I Let me ask you this.
Nigeria.
I read an interview from you on BBC where you said that in Nigeria people still look at board games as a woman's thing.
So that's the thing, because games are limited. Like I can count how many games that exist apart from the games that NIPCAD has been able to make. So in the past 2 years, we've supported designers to design, and then we manufactured for them. We've done about 18 for um people, 18 different games for people, and then for myself, I think I have about, counting now, about 38 games. So apart from the influx that NIPCAD is trying to bring in, the games you see mostly in Nigeria are about 8 of them. And when you have a limited number of items, it's easy to build stereotypes around those items. So for instance, chess is for brilliant students. And then when you don't enjoy playing chess, you feel left out. When there are so much, there are thousands of games, and there are games that even their rules are more complex than chess. And you'll be able to enjoy those games, maybe war games, and your 25-page rule books, and you're enjoying it. But because the games in Nigeria are limited, stereotypes are built around it. So chess is for brilliant students. Monopoly is for people that like money. Draft is for idle men. Ludo is for idle women. Card games, any form of card games, is for gamblers. So all these stereotypes, and these stereotypes are still enforced up to today. Scrabble are for people that love English or want to travel out of the country. All of those stuff just because they are limited. But that's the people are now saying, people come in and like, I don't like playing chess. It's too much. And then we bring out a game like Azul, or we bring out another game that takes your mental capacity, and they're enjoying it. I'm like, okay, well, you're actually enjoying this form of game. And then their whole concept about tabletop games kind of explodes. So yes, stereotypes, there are a lot of, and those stereotypes are still ongoing as we are talking.
It's amazing because we can still feel some stereotypes also here and for sure in other countries around board games. But generally, there
Mhm.
are two main stereotypes here. One,
Mm.
it's oh, board games are for kids, and only kids play board games. Or if you are playing, for example, a card game in a cafe, some owners they come to you and they say, ah, you can't play here because they think we are playing for money.
Yeah, gambling. Exactly.
Gambling,
Exactly.
exactly. And so it's a common stereotype. Even though I think you have more stereotypes around gaming than we have, but i
Yeah,
think
that's it.
i think it's a huge barrier that we need to fight, of course.
Yes.
And
Yes.
probably this can only be fought with more and more promotion of games and more games, different games. Um, and
I
this
quite agree.
is and this is where I want to go next. You also say that there is this big convention at the capital, Enugu, right?
No, that's
But
why in
the
Abuja.
Abuja, Enugu
Yes.
is
No,
where?
Enugu is where I was born and brought up. But the capital of Nigeria is Abuja. That's where I stay now.
Okay, so there is this big convention at the capital, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and
It's
the
actually
biggest
called
convention, yeah, go on.
it's actually called the African Board Games Convention. Just like you said about breaking the stereotypes, it starts with promotion and bringing in more games. So that was why we started APCON. It's called APCON, the African African Board Game Convention. So we started in 2016. I remember before we started, what we used to do, or what I used to do was to carry briefcase of my game prototypes to lounges, to places that I could find people, even on the streets, just so we play new games because they are all new games to them. And then we now say, why not find a one place and then try to bring people to that place? At the time, we didn't know what we were doing or how much we wanted it to grow. Frankly, I was just very, very tired of going from one place to another, speaking and speaking. So the owners have to give you permission, and then you now start, in a way, intruding tables. People that when they wanted to probably have their own private time, but now I'm trying to intrude their table, their privacy. So that was how AppCon started. It's a gathering of game enthusiasts, game designers, or generally anyone that is interested or curious about tabletop games. And we've been consistent every year, apart from 2020 due to the global pandemic, but we've been consistent every day. And it's been amazing. The growth is it's crazy. Last year was massive. One, we crowdfunded for that, and we even have foreigners now attending. Like for us, it's huge because it shows it's safe, and then it shows that okay, this is something that is actually very interesting. And we have locals that are looking forward to next year's zone. We have new. I remember there was a time it was just my game prototypes that were there, and then it grew to a place where it was games that are published. But last year, I'm seeing different publishers. I'm seeing different games,
It's
and
been growing. It's been growing a
it's
lot,
growing,
right?
it's growing, and it's spreading the message, and that's the point. It's spreading the message of tabletop games, and there are cafes coming up. There are people that are interested in game designing now. There was a time I used to go on play testing my game, so I would build a persona in my head. I would like player A, player B, player C. But now there are people who I could say, "Hey guys, come let's play test the game," and they understand mechanics. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing to see that it's growing so much in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something about this convention. You say it's growing and a lot of more interested people and designers and so on. They are all Nigerian, or are there people from abroad coming also?
So for last year, we were actually supposed to bring in Eric Lang, but we couldn't because of COVID. And at the time, Omicron was just released, and Canada actually put Nigeria in one of the countries in ban list at the time. And so for last year, we had foreigners who were already in Nigeria who attended. But in terms of designers, all designers so far are Nigerians. We even had conversations with other designers. For instance, someone from Congo was supposed to come, but due to the COVID, he couldn't come. And there are conversations with designers from both Senegal, Kenya, and Cameroon. But it couldn't happen just because of the virus and the whole stress of traveling at the time. But for last year, it was just strictly Nigerian designers that were to display their games. In total, there were nine publishing companies, and I think 12 different games were displayed. 12 different games.
Tell me one thing. You were talking about designing games and finding people for play testing, but before there, not only in Nigeria but everywhere, basically, when the hobby started growing, there was not so much information, and there was not. Um, I mean, when you are the first one, and you don't have people with whom to play test or with whom to learn from, where did you find the inspiration for your first games? I mean, um, or where did you find the help, online, or did you have already a small community of friends who liked board games? How did you start?
So I think that the support for me was more of in 2015. So I had already designed a game 2 years prior, but in 2015 I was volunteering for an organization, and in that organization it was made up of young people from UK and young people from Kenya. So part of the project was, hey, if you guys are coming to Nigeria, come and stay for 3 months in the project. So part of our project was to work with teachers in schools. So we're working with children, and then that informed them to bring in some card games, some board games, right? And when I saw those games, I was like, "Hey guys, I have," and I always carried the piece of paper where I designed the first one. I always carried it to new locations. And I said, "Hey guys, I have something like this, so that I made." And when I brought it out, and they played it, that was the first kind of feedback. That was the first effective feedback. Up until then, I was getting feedback of either what is this, or oh, this is amazing. So it was a far right and far left. Either people who were impressed about what I did, but have no idea how to contribute in it, or people who like showed zero interest in what I did. But then I was now in a team of young people who naturally enjoyed playing games, and they were very intrigued that I was able to design a game. So they say, "Okay, guys, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you reduce the length of play? Can you be more about Nigeria?" So they were bringing informed knowledge, and then I designed another one in space of 2 weeks. So that was when I said, "Yeah, okay, this is something." Like it didn't take me to them. They felt I would do it after the program or in a year's time, but in 2 weeks I already done a new different game, and then I ended up doing two new more within that space of 3 months, and we were playing, and I could see that it was growing. And then that was when I started doing more research, going online. I found out a lot of board game groups on Facebook, and I found out board game geek, and I found out YouTube. I started learning more. I started now doing self-taught, self-education. I started learning as much as possible, and I was asking questions. So there were different. So and the groups are helpful. So I could just drop in a picture and something that right now I'm thinking about it was but people were still good enough to respond and to give me directions, and I'll go implement it. So I think 2015 was the time where I started getting a lot of support, both in terms of knowledge, and at some point from 2016, I received games. I saw the first dice set, and it blew my mind. Like I saw D4, like four-sided. Wow. And then D20, 20-sided dice. Because up until then it was D6, Ludo, and all of this. So those new knowledge and having access kind of started expanding. I started reading up on mechanics. You see in the cafe, we have the some popular mechanics. We just the same thing that helped me at the time. We try to put it on the board so that if new people come in, they will see these stores again, and it gives them that kind of perspective that perception that games are beyond what we know about it. So I think yes, on 2015, that was when that happened.
It's amazing. It's an amazing story.
Thank you.
And this led eventually to the creation of Nibcard, your
Yes,
company, right?
yes,
I was just showing before a little bit of your website, and but before we get into that, um, you started created games, and you had from what I read from my research, you had the help of the voluntary service overseas, right?
exactly. Voluntary service overseas. That was the organization I volunteered for at the time where I met other young people, and I ended up after volunteering for about close to 4 years. I ended up working with the same organization. It was where I resigned to focus full time on tabletop games. Yes.
And when you launched your first game, it was
Yeah.
about migration, right?
Uh, no, but we also did a game of migration. I'm so sorry. There's so many games, and it's like a branch. So the first game that we released officially was it's called Luku Luku. It's a game due to my the nature of my job. We had to provide kind of fun learning materials for schools, for children in a very underprivileged kind of situation. So Luku was supposed to support. Actually, it's in three editions. One was to improve learning in numeracy, learning in literacy, and then there's also the Luku map, learning in geography. Exactly. So this is Luku now. This is yes, this is the Luku now. So this helps in this for small children and smaller children. Both they are like literacy, yes, more of literacy, identifying objects and names and all of those. And there's also Lukuluku map. Map is more for adults, so it's about locations and all of those. So Lukuluku was the first game we did. But at the time, you're correct. We did a game for the International Office for Migration (IOM) on just a game about migration. We called it My World Trip. Uh, My World Trip. Yes, I'm not sure My World Trip is on BGG at this
My
time.
world
So we
trip.
did My World Trip. Yes, but there's a website dedicated for that. Um, ah, I don't know if you can Google my world trip, Kenechukwo, Ogbuago, IOM. I'm sure there's a way because part of the project was to make it open source, so anyone can download all the PDF materials, and they will also have a video on how to actually make it yourself. So anyone anywhere can make it, and it's actually in two languages, in English and in French, so that people can have access to that. So if you Google IOM West Africa, Kenechukwo, Ogbuago, my world trip, I think these are major keywords that will help people have access to that game. So yes, but we did that with the intention of going to schools to raise awareness of migration, and then the lockdown happened. So we had to now put it exactly. We had to provide it online, make it out open source so people can have access to
It's amazing that you have in a few years you have more than 30 games out there, right?
that. Yep, yep, yep. To be honest,
How?
to be honest,
Yeah, go on.
please go ahead, ask your question.
No, 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 no. Go on, go on. To be honest,
Okay, so to be honest, we design games out of a need. All the games we design. Okay, maybe there's one game I'm designing out of like I just want to create this stuff, right? It's called Village War because it's a series of games, but most of the other games is out of a need. So maybe I'm designing this game. Okay, there's also a Battle of Africa. Yes, those are two heavy games, but most of the games are like ah, I people need to know about this stuff, and then I have to now, and my brain cannot rest. I have to form a game out of it. If it doesn't come out, I can't move on. And I'm honestly, I'm learning to control it, but it wasn't like this. If I can't eat. I can't. It has to come out. So I'm not keeping scores. I'm not keeping count. It has to come out for me to have my life back. I have to design this game. So it's that need. I'm sure you understand. You're also a designer. So, and then we run a cafe, right? And most times people don't want to play games in fours. They want to play games as their own group. And I'm forced to design a game that can contain all of them, or I risk making them not to return back anymore. But I want them to understand the of games. So it's ah,
it's amazing the enthusiasm you put on all this, and I really recognize that on me and on other friends who create games. But where does it come? Your inspiration for the games? It,
hmm,
because I mean, we talked about this game a little bit about this game about migration.
yeah.
Do you have any kind of course we all are preoccupied about social matters and social subjects, but do you have any special preoccupation about that? I mean, do you want to put that on games, or do you want to make games about many other things, or where does your inspiration come from for games?
Okay. Personally, what I've always wanted was to be able to talk our own stories in games. Remember, I told you that up to today, a lot of Nigerians still don't know that Ludo was not created in Nigeria. So when I started reading more about games, it was like a whole new world, and I started seeing a lot of stuff too. So, for instance, people enjoy Monopoly, but the actual story of Monopoly was to educate people on capitalism. I mean, Elizabeth, she wanted to educate people against capitalism, but now I'm not talking about here about Monopoly. I have, in fact, if I'm very close to the company in Nigeria that have the license to make Monopoly in Nigeria. And I think the whole of West Africa. So that's not what I'm doing. And we have Monopoly Nigeria. here in the cafe and people play it, right? But it's about why those games were created. People don't really know about it anymore. And a game like chess, all through my growing up years, all through my growing years, I was told the king is the most powerful in a village. But when you're playing chess or you see people playing chess, that is not true. Uh, most of my realities and what I'm seeing on a chessboard, they don't correlate. A bishop doesn't go to war. A bishop doesn't kill people. And then a queen is the most powerful on the chessboard. Like the queen moves around. That is not true. But then that is a story of a time, a period, right? And that was what those people were doing. They were using their own reality to, well, even when it was used in war strategy, but in a way, that's what the game is, right? And then you start seeing all games. If you see Monopoly, they put places of New York or places of London, and they're telling their own story. You could see all of those stuff. That was what we wanted to do. That was what I wanted to do. The first game, the ever first game I designed in 2013 was called the Kubwa, and it's the life of an average young Nigerian. The second game is Egypt, and it's a game about a movie I saw growing up, a Nigerian scary movie I saw growing up, where a group of young people had to go through what we call evil forest to find some eggs that's supposed to save the community, the village from famine. Those are games. So most of my games come from is inspired from my own reality, things that I see, and then there are also like I said earlier, games that come out of a need. So either that I'm trying to solve a major problem, or the objective of this organization, they want a game that's about migration, or a game about literacy. So I have to think about that to meet that need. And most times those type of game comes because there is money that follows it, and I need those money to now do the games I really want to design. So that's the and I love to there are games we played as a child, like Ringo, and they didn't mean anything to us at the time. But now I've been able to put them in a tabletop game. There's one touch. You can check one touch on DDT. One touch Ringo. These are games that anybody that comes to the cafe and I say, "Oh, do you remember that game you used to play in the classroom with your button?" I say, "Yes." And the cover of your pen, "Yes." This is it. I'm like, "Whoa!" And it brings that nostalgic feelings back to life. So that's it's either things that I see every day that inspire me, or it's about a need I have to meet using both.
It's the board games are like a motor for getting people together and for creating moments, and this is exactly what you're telling. You're bringing games to people, and people suddenly they remember. And even in 10 years, if you're talking with a friend that you haven't seen for a long time, you will remember. Oh, you remember that epic play of Catan or some other game, and people always remember this. Always remember. So it's a great way of bringing people together. You are working now also with other designers on nib card games.
Yeah. Yes. But yes, indirectly, yes, we do. But at the same time, we prefer to not have designers underneath cars. So at the time, because it's an industry, and an industry cannot survive with just one company. So what I actually do is anybody that I'm working with, I make sure that they are independent. So they have first, I actually name your own, name it. So I'm working with different cafes, even when we have our own cafes, but I have to make sure that they are independent of NIP cards, so that even without NIP cards, this industry can sustain. Every designers that we work with have their own website, have their own registered company, have their own games. Only that we manufacture their games, or we also share some knowledge or resources that we know we have, or people have already sent to us, donated to us. Right now, it's our convention that we are focused on, for people to have their own different conventions. Hopefully, if it's not this year, next year, there should be a convention in Enugu that you mentioned. I don't want it to be APCON. Let it be an independent. Lagos already did a mini one last year. So I'm hoping that this year, Lagos will be having a very huge convention, and I will attend so that I won't be the organizer. I want to be the to complain. I want to be the one complaining. I want this. I don't want that. I don't want to be the one solving people's problems in Lagos, right? So yes, we work with designers. We work with even content creators. They use the cafes, but they have their own YouTube channels because I don't want it to be Nipcard. At some point Nipcard will become a company of its own. Yes, but now is not the time because if we do that now, we'll just all be struggling. That's just the truth. We'll all be struggling.
So Nib Cards is becoming a movement. It's more like a
Yes,
movement of Nigerian game designers and
and that
uh,
is actually the name. That is actually the name. The name NIPCAD is an acronym, and it's even in the symbol of the logo. If I don't know if you can show the logo, so it's easier to explain. So we have the N, the I, the B, the C. That is not an A, but in the spelling you have to say A. But if you look at the logo, the I has a hexagon card beneath it, and that means Nigeria. So the okay, on the screen. So exactly. Thank you. So if you notice the N, so the N and then the I has an hexagon beneath it. So the NI
yeah.
stands for Nigeria. That is the first two letters in Nigeria. So the B is an alphabet on its own. That is board game. The C is a card. Now the this triangle, if you're writing the card properly, you put A, but it's not an A. It's actually a triangle. And then the R is a role play, and then the D is a dice. So at the time when we were formulating this name, I knew that we didn't have any infrastructure to make miniature games. I was never thinking about miniature games. Now I am a bit Warhammer and stuff, but at the time when we crafted the name in 2016, I knew that I didn't have the resources or the capabilities to go into miniatures. So that was why the name stood up like this. So it's Nigerian board card role play dice games. So need card games. So everything we do is about promoting the industry in Nigeria and hoping that it inspires other African countries. You know, if we can give support, we would, but let it inspire other African countries to start their own activities. Like African has so many stories, and these stories means tabletop games, different forms of tabletop games. In Nigeria alone, apart from the fact that we are literally the largest black country in the world with over 200 million population. There are over 400 recognized languages in just Nigeria. That is recognized language. I mean, each of these languages have their own cultures, stories, different. So there's so much content from Africa.
I'm just showing the a video that you have on your website,
Yeah.
and it's 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 amazing. It's amazing. What you're creating here is amazing. And I want to ask you this question because you said that you want people to from other African countries to get interested on it. Is there people from at least neighbor countries contacting you to know a little bit more about what you're doing and about maybe with the same interest on doing the same thing?
Yes, most definitely. And we've been having conversations since 2017. Like, so obviously for many people, just like myself, it's about resources, right? So we have conversation on how to mitigate, how can we use what we have to be able to do what we want to do. Hopefully this year, for the first time, we'll be meeting. Some of us will be meeting ourselves, hopefully in Cameroon. So that's yes, there are conversations. We see ourselves, we compliment ourselves. Like Cameroon has a very a good convention that's been going on for 3 years now. Senegal is active. Senegal is active. Kenya is a bit. Kenya has the culture of playing games, but it's still on the old classics. But the modern games is coming gradually. Congo has started something. I talk with Rabin almost on a weekly basis. It's doing something. So it's a gradual process that, and it's not this kind of gradual process that keep moving gradually. It's more of dot, and it just needs a spark, and it grows exponentially. But in terms of there are now people who are really passionate about this industry, who they've seen that they can add value, and it's happening. it's happening. And I'm just going to put it out there. The world should actually expect a lot of games from Africa. It's it's like a virgin land. There's so many stories and there's so many mechanics that have not been captured. And it's about resources. Once these resources come in, you'll see start seeing new themes, new mechanics, and they will just add value to the global industry. I'm really excited. I'm excited.
I think we are all, and I'm seeing these videos and so many people playing, kids and adults playing games at the convention. It's always, of course, it's always great to see people playing at conventions. It's inspiring, and I see that you do, at least from the games I saw, you do many games for children also, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Is that
So,
something you care especially for? Because I'm
yes,
asking you
yes,
this because I am teaching board games in schools for kids, and
yes,
I see
yes,
sometimes people tell me, "Oh, but they prefer video games and this and that." But I think in 10 years, uh, that's when we will see the real results of this investment in kids. When kids go to college
exactly.
and they find friends and they start remembering the moments they had while playing board games, and then they will want to play board games again. What do you think?
Exactly. I actually agree with you. So for us, we are tackling our reality. We are working with parents. We are working with our mates, and we're also working with children. We would just want to put these investments there. And you just quoted me. I tell people, see, don't worry. It's in 10 years time we'll see what all of these things makes up because we are trying to create memories with games for people who are age, so that when they get married and start giving birth to children, they will remember the memories and they want to instill it on their children. But at the same time, we recognize that our mates, most of the games that they want now, it's not strategy games. They want party games. They want games of them and their big friends. But we're also targeting children. So we host a workshop for schools. We host design workshops. We do competitions so that these children are playing strategy games and they will use that memory when they go to college. We are hoping that they will continue playing strategy games, and that means that we need to keep designing games so that it won't be a matter of there are no games, or it's just the same games we played when we were kids. So we are working with these children, and at the same time we're working with adults because we are getting adults. I mean, older adults. We are getting them to buy games for their children. So it's just working with all these demographics because we can't work with one and leave one, or there will be a huge gap in later years. So we are trying to, and we're not doing it full scale. We're not doing it full scale. That's the truth. But here in Abuja, we are constantly learning. And the fact that we have a cafe, the cafe will be 3 years old on Monday. So on Monday will be 3 years old. And so every day we are learning. We are going out. People are coming to meet us. We are seeing, okay, this is what works. This is the games. This is how to communicate to children. This is what entices children, and all of those. So that's all the things that we are doing. Yes. So this was from the last competition, and so that's there is Basi. Basi, she owns her own tabletop games cafe that is dedicated to just children. Yes. In fact, two of our kids are so we have this lens on how we view game masters, and we define a game master for our community as someone who has taught at least 25 different games to people. So she has two game masters. Her kids are 9 years and 11 years, and they've both taught more than 25 games to their peers. If you go to her cafes, she goes to schools, she works with children, she works with teachers. So that's the investment thing. So we are trying to keep working with children, we're working with adults, and we're working with older adults so that in years to come, we'll hopefully see the reward of the investment, or we'll still see that we need to put in more work. That's all the truth.
You said that you are organizing workshops of game design for children in schools
Yes,
and so on. I think this is really truly amazing. It's one of the things. because I believe on the abilities that board games bring to not only to children but to everyone in general, and the development of different abilities depending on the games, of course, and bringing this to kids. I think this is a new kind of innovative way of teaching,
I
of
agree.
educating, and seeing that you do this also, it's really inspiring. I believe that now this is really a movement. It's more than just playing board games and creating board
Thank
games.
you.
It's
Thank you.
bringing them to
Thank
people and getting people together. So I really congratulate you on this. um, Tell
I
me
never
when.
walk alone. I always like to, sorry, Pedro. I always like to put it out there. I never walk alone. I always have a support of the young people who are also supporting, and then the global tabletop games industry. They have time for me. So anyone I send a message always respond, and that is one thing I'm very very grateful. Oh, that's Susan talking. If someone is going to start a convention in Lagos, probably Susan. And Lagos is like the most populated state in West Africa. It's even more popular than Abuja. Susan is very, very passionate about games. She goes further a lot.
Yeah, we can see the passion on games here on this
Uh,
part.
I
Yes,
swear.
it's amazing. It's really amazing. Actually, before when we started talking about the convention, I thought I was already showing the video that I'm showing now,
Mm, okay.
and there is this part. I will go back because I really want to show this part
Mm,
where people get together, and kids get together, and everyone gets together around tables, around tabletop tables, and it's really amazing to see how people enjoy board games. Here we have chess, the classic one, but there is
The
also
classic,
more. There is also
Makala.
Mancala, of course, another classic.
Uh,
But there are so many. Okay, another classic, Monopoly. We keep coming from
Another
classic.
classic.
We keep coming from classic
Classic. Classic.
to classic, and it's amazing. And speaking about this movement, you will also have a board game cafe. Is this true, or um, who created this board game cafe and why?
So
Do you know?
yes, we actually have a cafe. To be honest, when I introduce myself, I always say I'm a game designer because that's actually the first thing that started, right? Is the game design, but every other thing that have come after that has always come as a need. So first, after I figured out that I could design a game in 2015, I started looking for a place to make the game, and I tried. I did all the researches. I made calls. I was so frustrated, and then I had to enter YouTube and I started learning how to cut papers and build boxes myself. And that was how we started manufacturing games. So in 2016, I had to bring a group of young people, about 23 of us, and I had to start teaching them what I was learning on YouTube. So we were doing cutting, and those are the same young people. In fact, my co-founder was one of the young people at that time, and he's now a partner and a co-founder till this year. And everybody that's making games started from that group in 2016. So after making games, we started taking these games, like I said, to lounges, to hotels, to bars. We intrude spaces. So that was where the need started coming from. So I started thinking, this is frustrating because sometimes we could go and we don't have the permission or we don't have the interest. And we say, no, we need to bring people to a place. And that was where the convention started. But convention is once a year. So we started thinking, how do we, obviously, there was no fund. I was still a volunteer. I was still volunteering when all of this are happening. So I started thinking, how do we get a place where every day is dedicated to just tabletop games? Now, at the time, I was okay with my own games. At the time, we have like 13 games, and then the old classics. They were enough to start a game library for me. And then we did a crowdfund and magic happened. Brooklyn Games Lab and a lot of other people. So the peg was okay. If you give us social amount, we'll give you one or two of these games. If you give us social amount, we'll give you social of these games. So that was the reward for the peg. And then we got support, and the support was to to get furnitures, electronics, and pay the rent for the first year. And this is our third year now. That was how all of this started. So when we started, 4 5 months into it, with the message, from Bastard Games Cafe, how they want to do a games drive and send us games. That was how I saw for the first time when these games arrived. I saw more than 200 games, and I was touching them. We did not see the pictures are there. We placed those. We start the games to build a pyramid. That pyramid was like that for close to 2 weeks, and it was for anyone that wants to come take pictures. Come and take pictures. So different people will come. Different. It was we were seeing you. Yes, because we've never seen such. How I felt that day is how people keep feeling whenever they walk into the cafe. They were like, "Whoa, are these all books or are they games?" And then I said, "No, they are games, and these are not all. The over 4,000 that released just in 2020, according to." And they're like, "What's the lie?" And then I showed them the dice, and I showed them a dice tower that we made ourselves. And so I live in the cafe. I can't afford. Abuja is very expensive, so I live in the cafe. Right? Some nights I come out and I touch games. I'm like, whoa. And it's not just the game box. If you now open them, you're seeing stuff that you thought was not possible. You know, old classics are very classic. Now you open a game and you're seeing miniatures. You're even seeing painted minis, and and, you and when you're punching, like this is not toys. These are not toys. These are not. We have this game, civilization, civilization, the board games. We are afraid of setting it up because we have no idea. Like the civilization is so heavy, and 2 tables will not be enough for a game like that. Even third year, that's how. Imagine how I felt 3 years ago when I actually saw it for the first time. Today we open it, we look at ourselves, we close it back because we don't want to start something we can't finish, right? So there are games. You open our mind. Games are different, and it's good. So that's what the cafe was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a place that people come chill, play game. But along the line, it changed. Now we call it more of a hub than a cafe. It's just that the name has stuck, but we call it more of a hub because we have a regular day for play testing every Tuesday. Like this today now, people are coming to either bringing their new game or playing new games. So we have content creation. People come to create. So we have this board. We even have this game master tree. So if you qualify for a game master, your name entered this. So it's no longer a cafe, but and we don't sell food anymore. When we started, we used to sell food and drink, but now people can bring in their own food and their own drink. So it takes that pressure away from us. So we focus just on everything that has to do with games. And then if people want to design a new game, like manufacturing, we also have those conversations here. It's good people play test their games here. So it's now more of and people now come from different parts of Nigeria, which is the good thing. So they want to come, they want to get ideas, have conversations, and there are a lot of play testers, people who are skilled with play testing. I could just ask someone to put it in the WhatsApp group. Oh, guys, there's a new game for play testing and sharing feedback. So it has gone from being a cafe, and now we are setting up, we are helping people set up their own cafes now. So people set up new cafes, or they come in here, or word of mouth. They come, we recommend games that can suit their cafes. They buy games and then they now take it to their cafes. So it's now a proper cafe for them. But for us, it's more of built into a hub than a cafe.
So now it's a place for people to come and to share and to
Exactly.
learn. And it's, yeah, it's really like a hub. And it's amazing how you talked about all these games coming to you, because this reminds me that the hobby has many faces. It's like opening a new box, a new game box. It's like designing a game. It's like sharing moments with friends. It's seeing people creating other moments, and people coming up. People, I don't know if I'm connected. Yeah. People
Yeah,
coming up with new ideas and with this their enthusiasm and everything,
exactly.
and everything comes together on that place. And this is, I dare to say, this is kind of the result of all this movement that you created is gathered in one place there. I mean, of course, it spread it to, and that's the point of a movement,
Yeah,
to spread the word and to get people playing. But at the same
yeah,
time, you have a place
a
where people
concentrated place.
know that you can find you, that they can find you.
Exactly. Exactly. So we prefer people come in here and then they take it out there because we don't have the capacity or capability to be at everywhere at the same time. We, we can't do that. But when you come in here, then we've established contact immediately because now we and you're watching my status, your WhatsApp status, you're seeing the update, and then you're taking the inspiration from here to your own place. For instance, on Friday, a new cafe opened up in Lagos State, just this Friday, and it's amazing. It's one of my to do this week to uh, send an interview question so that the world knows about those places. And it's amazing. Part of what we promised for APCON was that for cafes that were existing, we are going to send out. Part of the fund was to get things like dice tray, dice set, and to even send out some new games to this cafe. So when we send those stuff, it also had that feeling that I had when I saw it the first time. And it's amazing. I saw their shelf. They did a video. Ah, hopefully by next week their story should be up on either the APCON website or NICAL website. It's spreading. It's spreading. There's a cafe in Sokoto. There's one in Ibadan, and none of these existed barely 2 years ago. So that's just like you said. Is in 10 years we'll see the investment, what has come out of all of these investments. I'm very patient.
Yeah, yeah, it's I can see the enthusiasm and I share your enthusiasm. It's amazing having you here. And it's amazing to hear all these stories, because we all have stories around board games, but sometimes, because we don't know other realities, we don't know that there are people on the far east of the world that know, that share our the same pleasure. And in general, I'm talking about Portugal in general, we have access more to Western games, European games. I mean, the German ones, they are very famous, and for sure the American ones. But we don't hear much about African board games. And it's great that you keep doing this, and that you keep sharing the word, not only in Nigeria but also abroad. And it's great having you here to get
Thank
to
you
know a
so
little
much.
bit
Thank you so much.
about your board games and about your work. Thanks a lot,
Thank you so much.
Kenechukwo.
Thank you so much. And anyone that wants African board games, we are currently running a campaign right now, so they might as well go and get it on Kickstarter.
Okay, people, just look for Kenechukwo online. It's easy to is easy to find, and so many reports about him and about his work on this huge movement are online. So you only need to check. For more information, you can just contact us, and we'll help you reach him. Again, thank you so much. Obrigado a todos por
Thank you
terem
so
estado
much,
aí.
Pedro.
Este foi o
Obrigado. Obrigado.
Kenechukwo Ogbuago, com este grande
Yeah.
movimento de jogos de tabuleiro na Nigéria. Vão ao site dele, nibcardgames.com. Hoje em dia já é muito mais do que uma editora, já é muito mais do que simplesmente meia dúzia de jogos de tabuleiro. É um movimento que tem saído cá para fora e cada vez mais se vai espalhando. Consultem-no, descubram os jogos que ele produz e os jogos que são produzidos em outros países em geral, não só aqui na Europa e nos Estados Unidos, mas também noutros locais, onde muitas vezes não suspeitamos ou não esperamos encontrar tanta variedade de jogos, porque eles não chegam cá com tanta facilidade. Não se esqueçam de subscrever o canal e deixar o vosso like. Como sempre, se gostaram desta entrevista aqui na Box Special, nós vamos voltar com mais, todas as semanas ou mais ou menos isso. Não se esqueçam que este fim de semana, no domingo, voltam as grandes noites, as grandes conversas aqui à Curious Box com um grande programa. A Noite dos 100 será o meu top 100 de jogos de tabuleiro de sempre, com 10 convidados que serão 10 designers de jogos de tabuleiro nacionais. A Noite dos 100, domingo à noite, às 9 horas. Obrigado por terem estado aí. Um grande abraço a todos e joguem muito, porque eu espero ver-vos numa mesa perto de vocês.